Meta Platform Inc., the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, has warned it may shut down operations in Nigeria following a federal high court decision upholding fines totaling over $290 million. The tech giant was fined by three federal agencies, $220 million by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission (FCCPC) for alleged anti-competitive practices, $37.5 million by the Advertising Regulatory Commission Council for unauthorized ads, and $32.8 million by the Nigerian Data Protection Commission (NDPC) for breaches of data privacy laws. Meta raised alarm over what it called unrealistic regulatory commissions, particularly the NDPC's demand for prior approval before transferring Nigerian users' data abroad. The company described this requirement as incompatible with global internet operations. It also pushed back against directives to develop educational content on data privacy risks in collaboration with government-approved bodies, calling the interpretation of the law flawed. The court ruling requires Meta to settle the fines by the end of June. The company warned it might be forced to pull Facebook and Instagram from Nigeria to avoid further enforcement. Meta has been, I think when I was done with school for a bit, Facebook came into limelight. I mean, most of us started off on social media using Facebook. I want to first of all gather your thoughts on this report. Let's gather your thoughts on the report.
The thing is that social media has come to stay. Facebook, WhatsApp, and if you pull them out of Nigeria, it's going to hurt a whole lot of people.
Right.
There are many businesses that depend on it to survive and to even start up. And this is not just small businesses; big businesses depend on these apps to survive. There are also many relationships that is built around this social media app. I mean, communication is key. One of the easiest way people communicate now is through WhatsApp. At times you find it challenging to make calls, especially across border. Well, with WhatsApp is one platform that I can carry my local line when I travel about out. That local line is still useful through WhatsApp. I am not charged anything. It's something that has bridged the gap of borders and geography, and so if you pull it out, you're practically cutting Nigerians off. And this is the reason why I think that in making laws, the government should realize that these companies, just like most multinational companies, are not just bound by your local laws. As important as your local laws is, in formulating those local laws, consideration should be made to understand what global best practices is, so that your local laws don't run against global best practice that will scare away multinational companies that are not locally bound. And I think it is for this reason that you have some international, over the years, centuries, or decades, some unified international laws has been built. For example, the post office system have developed, a system of interaction that makes it easier for post office to interact across nations in spite of what the local laws is. So I think the Nigerian system in making this law should consider these things, and also dialogue with these agencies should be encouraged in spite of what the law said. You can't rule out the place of dialogue with this organization. We have a dialogue with them, make them understand what you're trying to do, and also understand where they are coming from. But most importantly, beyond understanding where yourselves, is also understanding the impact of these apps on the people of your country. Because whatever you're doing, whatever law you're making, everybody would want to believe that the interest of the people is paramount. So if you're doing something that's injurious to the people, if you throw some of these businesses that rely on these apps out of the market by shutting down this app, that means you are going to expand the labor market that is already oversaturated. And what is your answer to those many businesses that will be closed? Do you have a ready answer for them? I mean, we are in a system that is already volatile, that has already many issues. So if you do anything that jeopardizes what
It's already on ground.
absolutely you're creating more problem for your system, and I mean it's not going to be in anybody's interest. Yes, our laws are important, they should be implemented, but it should be done in such a way that it creates a win-win for everybody, the country, the citizens, and these organizations.
Thank you so much. So over on Twitter, when this report broke, there were certain quarters of arguments as regards the fact that if some other country was, pulling out these bills on Facebook, they would have paid. I want to gather your thoughts in that regard. Do you think the objection or the pushback from Facebook is because, this is happening in Nigeria? Or do you think this pushback is because of, like you said, the due expected global practices?
You see, perception also matters. If the agency or the companies, like they said there, they called it on you, if they feel like you're just being antagonistic, there's a way you say. But if you have called them to a discussion, discuss with them, maybe there's a way you present your case, and you reach a middle of the road agreement. So it is not completely true that if it were some other countries, depending on what country you're talking about and how they play their card, how you present your issues matters. You see, I don't think these companies would deliberately want to get out of the Nigerian market knowing what they get from Nigeria. I mean, the number of persons that are on this app in Nigeria is massive. However, you don't forget the fact that they're also in this for profit. So if you're going to, act in a way that will be considered unreasonable or jeopardize their profit margin, anticipated profit margin, especially when such act is not understood by them, so they would likely be a protest from them in spite of what they gain from this country. This is why I call for a dialogue. You see, it's not enough to say, because it is Nigeria. It is not necessarily an anti-Nigeria thing. Agreed, there may be some places where, different approaches would have been, but it starts from what approach have we used and how have we been perceived by these agents. Have they perceived our leaders and actions as altruistic or otherwise? That would also determine how they act.